The moving truck groaned to a stop, its engine sighing like a tired giant, and I finally breathed out, a long, shaky exhale that held 3 years of city stress and late-night deadlines. This was me new life. A little rustic cabin nestled at the base of a quiet, pine-scented hill, with a shimmering lake just out of sight beyond the trees. I just stepped out of the cab when the shrill, piercing sound of a whistle cut through the blissful silence. A sound so aggressively out of place it felt like a physical assault. What in the world was that? My eyes immediately landed on a woman with a perfectly coiffed blonde bob and sunglasses perched on her nose, a scowl marring her face as she strode towards my property line, a manicured finger pointing accusingly at my front door. "You can't park that monstrosity here," she yelled, her voice carrying an authority I had absolutely no intention of recognizing. I felt the last shreds of my patience fraying before they even had a chance to settle in, a slow burn of frustration replacing the peace I'd found moments ago. I mean, seriously, I hadn't even had a chance to get the first box out, and this woman was already staking her claim on my day. The air, which had smelled so clean and crisp with the scent of pine needles and damp earth, now seemed to carry the faint, irritating odor of her perfume, sickly sweet and artificial. I took a deep breath, trying to be the bigger person, and forced a small, weary smile. "Hi there," I began, but she cut me off, hands on her hips, her expression a mask of pure indignation. "Don't hi there me. Do you have any idea how much work we've put into this community? You're blocking the access road, and this isn't zoned for commercial vehicles. The Homeowners Association rules are very clear about this, and I am the president of the Homeowners Association. By the way," she puffed her chest out slightly, as if this title granted her an unassailable divine right. I just stared at her, my smile fading into a look of disbelief. An Homeowners Association. Up here? A place that felt like it was on the edge of the world, where the only neighbors I'd seen so far were a startled deer and a very bold squirrel. "Ma'am, I'm just moving in," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. "This is a private road, and this is my property. I don't think there's an homeowners association to worry about up here." A dry, condescending laugh escaped her lips, a sound like crinkling parchment. "Oh, honey, don't be naive. We have a very tight-knit community up on this hill, and we have standards. And believe me, you are not meeting them. That truck is an eyesore. And you're telling me you just bought this place? You didn't do your due diligence, did you? Because I have half a mind to believe you're not even supposed to be here." A sudden gust of wind rustled through the tall pines behind me, a low, murmuring sound that seemed to mock her bravado. A flicker of something in her eyes, a strange mix of ownership and something else. Entitlement, for sure, but also a hint of desperation. It was a fleeting thought, but it stuck with me. What was she hiding? A cold dread started to prickle at the back of my neck. I just wanted to get my stuff inside and sit in blessed silence with a cup of coffee. The thought of my worn-out couch, still wrapped in plastic inside that truck, was like a siren song. But this woman wasn't backing down. "I'm calling the police," she declared, pulling her phone out with a flourish. "And they will be very interested to know what you're doing here." I just stood there, hands in my pockets, watching her speak into her phone, her voice dripping with self-importance as she described a suspicious moving truck and a hostile man trespassing on private property. I felt a sudden, profound calm wash over me. It was the kind of peace that comes right before the storm breaks, the moment you realize you have all the cards and the other person has none. I listened to her rattling off her address and the street name, a name I knew for a fact didn't even exist on the legal deeds for this hill. My gaze drifted to the lake in the distance, a perfect blue mirror reflecting the sky. I'd spent a year negotiating for this place, not just the cabin but the entire 150 acres that came with the cabin, the hill, the pristine forest, and yes, the entire lake. This wasn't just a move, it was an escape, A calculated victory over a life I no longer wanted. About 15 minutes later, two sheriff's department patrol cars rolled up the gravel road, their sirens silent but their presence deafening. The officer in the lead car was a tall, grizzled man who looked like he'd seen it all. He walked up to the Karen, who was now preening and smirking triumphantly, certain of her victory. She launched into a breathless, dramatic version of events, painting me as a vagrant and a menace. The officer listened patiently, his eyes occasionally flicking over to me, a quiet question in their depths. When she finally ran out of breath, he turned to me. "Sir, can you explain what's going on here?" His voice was calm and professional. I took another deep breath, the clean mountain air filling my lungs. "Officer," I said, looking him straight in the eye, "I'm just trying to move in. I bought this cabin, and the entire hill it's on, and the lake." The Karen's smug expression instantly vanished, replaced by a look of confusion, then shock. "That's a lie," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "He's making it up. The lake is for everyone." The officer held up a hand to silence her, then turned back to me. "Do you have the deed?" he asked, a hint of curiosity in his tone. I nodded, pulling my phone from my pocket and bringing up the digital copy of the deed, a document that had taken months to finalize. I handed him my phone, and he looked at the document, his eyebrows slowly rising higher and higher as he scrolled through the land plot details and ownership records. A slow smile spread across his face. He handed the phone back to me and then turned to the Karen, his expression now completely serious. "Ma'am," he began, his voice low and firm. "According to these records, this gentleman legally owns parcel 49B, which comprises the entire hill road, this cabin, and all 150 acres, including Lake Serenity. This is his private property. You have no right to be on it, and he has every right to park his vehicle wherever he needs to while moving in. This isn't an homeowners association community. It's a single, privately owned property." The color drained from her face, and her mouth opened and closed soundlessly. The side twist I'd vaguely noticed before was now glaringly obvious. She had been holding an informal HOA with her neighbors, controlling access to the lake and making up rules, and now her reign was over. She had a bitter, sinking realization as the police officer continued, "And ma'am, I've had to speak with you on several occasions about this kind of behavior. If you continue to harass this property owner or his guests, we will be forced to file a formal complaint and you will face charges. This is your final warning." She didn't say a word, just turned and scurried back to her home, her head down, her perfectly coiffed hair looking somehow deflated. The second officer, who hadn't said a word, just gave me a little nod and a knowing smirk as he got back in his car. I stood there, watching the two patrol cars disappear down the road, and the silence returned, deeper and more profound than before. My quiet victory felt better than any grand announcement ever could. The lake glistened, a symbol of the justice of a man who just wanted to be left alone, and the foolishness of those who try to claim what they don't own. I looked at the moving truck, and for the first time, it didn't look like a chore, but a promise. The keys to my new life were finally, and irrevocably, in my hand.